But about the same time, my brother was just learning how to drive. And having survived, fires and Tupperware and partying and wild parents, which we did have wild parents, he thought him and his buddy Peanut, they wanted to get themselves a car. And for their first car, they wanted it to be something really cool. They wanted it to be a dune buggy. And I thought, hey, cool, dune buggy, that sounds like a lot of fun. Yeah, I've seen them on TV, and that sounds cool. But their kind of dune buggy wasn't exactly the kind of dune buggy that you and I would call like a regular dune buggy with like roll bars and stuff. Their kind of dune buggy was, it was like a 68 Volkswagen Beetle, because it had the engine in the back. Well, I don't know where they got this thing, but they got this Beetle and they bring it into the yard. And we're in these little row houses, about 20 foot wide as a yard. Little fences, rectangle fences. They bring this Volkswagen in, and they proceed to take all the bolts off to try to take the little Volkswagen cab off of the frame of the vehicle, off the floorboards and up off the frame. And they get the hull of one side off, and then they say to themselves, you know what? It's too much work getting all these bolts off. I think now that we got this one side up, we can just lift it up and drop it back and lift it up and drop it back until all the bolts on the other side will break. We call it metal fatigue. I think you must have learned about it in shop. If you stress metal enough times, it heats up and eventually breaks. So, sure enough, they get their buddies, heard of it, my brother Peanut and his friend, and when it finally pops loose, it actually rolls over and crushes the fence. Crushes my neighbor's fence flat. Boom. And they're all laughing and joking around, but the fence is flat, but they're happy. They got their dune buggy now. It is basically a 1968 Volkswagen Beetle with no lid. So it's a couple of seats, steering wheel, and a shifter, and an engine in the back. That's their dune buggy. It's pretty amazing if you think about it. I don't know where they got it, but anyway. So then they patch the fence up. It looks like crap, but they patch it up, and they pick up the cab part of the VW, and they take it down to the scrap metal yard, and they get rid of that. Now they got their dune buggy, and they're like, we're going to go across the highway and go riding in a dune buggy. And my brother, he's a big fella. Okay, he's like a big football player and everything, so he's kind of big. His buddy Peanut is complete opposite. He's like a stick figure. But they're both kind of goofy, they're teenagers, and they think, yeah, let's take our dune buggy out and try it out. Well, funny thing, no, it had seats and everything. It had seat belts, a little lap belt. Back then, you had a little seat belt right here. That was all you had. So they get out there across the highway, and they're having a blast of a time, and they're driving, and they're going up over ramps, and they're busting through the dirt, and they're just driving like crazy people. They're just having the time of their life. But what they fail to realize is that metal fatigue against them bolts that they were using when they were kind of trying to break them loose, metal fatigue also occurred in other places, like what the bolts were bolted to, which was the frame, and which was the floorboards. And what they didn't know is that through the course of rocking this thing back and forth, it suffered metal fatigue across the floorboard too, because it was being wrenched and heated up from itself. So as they're driving and partying and doing all this stuff, they just take this one big turn. I'm sitting on the back of the pickup truck watching them, and I'm laughing. And all of a sudden you hear a snap, bang, thud. And next thing you know is my brother sitting on the ground, seat belted in. And the floorboard had completely broken. The thing broke in half. And the floorboard seat of the passenger side broke off and slid to a stop, 10 feet from where the car kept going. And Peanut's just laughing his ass off. He's driving around. And needless to say, my brother's like, this didn't work. So that was what you want to call metal fatigue. And that's when my brother learned that you do not want to rock it back and forth. You want to take the time and take the bolts out, or you're going to wind up laying on the side of the road wondering what the heck happened. I thought that was a really cute story. Really, metal fatigue, it does happen. Now another thing that my brother and his buddy Peanut didn't learn is that gasoline and water are not good things to add together. I don't know how I came by it, but they happened to start a fire down in the cellar. And the fire started getting away from them, and they decided to pour water on the fire. And when they poured the water on the fire, amazing thing happened. The fire went faster down the driveway, out the cellar, out towards the driveway, down the driveway. The flames were now moving down the driveway, and between the cellar and the driveway was my dad's motorcycle. And they're just completely freaking out. And I'm like, guys, you can't. I'm a little kid. They don't listen to me. They're like, guys. And they're like shooting the hose, trying to keep the motorcycle from exploding. And the fire's just getting wider and wider, and it's just running down the street. And they don't know why. And I'm like, guys, you got to put dirt on a gasoline fire. You can't put water on fire. I was pretty smart back then. I was always find a way to make things happen. So sure enough, I'm out there throwing dirt at the fire, and I finally put the fire out around the motorcycle. And then eventually it thins out enough, and once all the gasoline burns off the water, it's just water. But for a good 5-10 minutes, when they had that whole driveway fully engulfed in flames and my dad's motorcycle catching on fire, it was an event, I can tell you.